hopefully we have two senators here. They're teaming up in an effort to also get some answers because they have questions, too. It's Republican Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana and Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. Senators, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Before I dig into Facebook and all that, I want to ask you both individually this reaction to Lindsey Graham calling the firing of Bob Mueller an impeachable offense. Senator Kennedy, do you see it that way?
He hasn't been fired. I mean, before, Chuck, we get all moved up, I think we need to wait and see what happens. Look, I know what the president said in his tweets. The president likes to think out loud. As I said earlier today, the president clearly grows anxious when he has an unexpressed thought. That's his management style. But he hasn't fired Mueller. I don't expect him to fire Mr. Mueller.
Okay.
The president's lawyer said Sunday night he wouldn't fire Mr. Mueller. And I don't think Mr. Mueller will be fired. I think Mr. Mueller ought to be allowed to complete his investigation. Now, if that changes, I'll be glad to do a deep dive into it. But until then, we're just speculating. Senator
Klobuchar, where are you on this?
Well, I think what Senator Graham was talking about is if the president breaks a law, and the law says, the rule says it was put in place after the Saturday Night Massacre when Richard Nixon fired a bunch of people in the Justice Department, the law says that you have to have for cause to fire a special counsel. And in this case, Rod Rosenstein has testified under oath that there isn't cause to do that. And I agree with Senator Kennedy that you should allow Counsel Mueller to do his job. And I think what Senator Graham was referring to is what the law is, that it can be an impeachable offense if someone breaks the law.
All right, let me move to Facebook. They were supposed to be up on the Hill briefing a lot of you today and tomorrow. Have either one of you been briefed today by Facebook? Or have you both been?
I haven't been, and I think it's important that they're briefing people. But, you know, they've sent their lawyers and their lobbyists up here before. And we think with a breach this big, 50 million people, you should have the CEO before the committee.
Well, and you guys can demand that, but your committee chair's not there yet. Senator Kennedy, what can you do to convince Senator Grassley to do this?
Well, Senator Grassley marches to the beat of his own drum. I'm going to be as persuasive as I can. Look, we've seen the headlines the last few days with Cambridge Analytica, but the issue's bigger than Cambridge Analytica. I think Facebook's a fine company, but let's face it, they're no longer a company. They're a country. Their power is massive. We're in a brave new world here. I've got a few questions for Facebook. I want to know to what extent, if any, when we're on Facebook, and I go on Facebook a lot, we're really seeing a contrived world made up by Facebook algorithms. You know, sort of like Truman and the Truman Show.
Wow.
I want to know to what extent, if any, Facebook has been abusing our data, not being a good steward of our data. And the ultimate question, Chuck, it seems to me, is how can we preserve the good things about Facebook, and there are some good things, while at the same time combating what appear to be abuses?
Senator Klobuchar, why do you think it's been so hard to get Mark Zuckerberg to testify? Because he didn't come up the last time you brought him all up.
Well, I'm sure he doesn't want to be asked the questions that Senator Kennedy just put forward. And by the way, I think we should have two hearings, one for Cambridge Analytica and figure out what went there with the Russians. But the other one is not just Mark Zuckerberg, but we've asked for the CEOs of all the social media companies. They have set up products that they've made a ton of money on, and a lot of their business model is basically building this product with no alarms and no locks on the doors, and then they act surprised when the bad guy gets in. That's what's happened here, and we have a duty to protect the American people and our democracy going forward in the next election and ask them what happened, how big was the damage, and how are they going to fix it.
Senator Kennedy,
it's complicated, Chuck. I mean,
no,
I think everyone can agree that poison is being spread on the internet.
Right.
But you quickly get into First Amendment issues. The critical question is, what is poison?
Well, that's what I'm... Right. No, I hear that.
One person's trash is another person's treasure.
Right. What is the expectation, though? I guess the question is, what's the line here? It's like, look, you can't regulate people deciding on their own to say, sure, Facebook, Use me all you want. Sell my data. Is the issue here Facebook hasn't been forthcoming at how accessible all of our data is to people?
Okay. Number one, they are under a consent decree with the FTC from 2011, where they said that there were privacy issues then and that every violation would be $40,000. That's a lot of money if you count all 50 million. The reports are the FTC is opening an investigation. So that's not legal if they violated that. The second thing that's not legal is if there's campaign finance violations, maybe not by them, but by Cambridge Analytica or by another campaign or the Trump campaign, where they got 50 million records for a few $1 million. Any business would love to see that. So there is a number of things. And finally, I'd add, if you're going to give away your privacy and your information, we should have rules in place so that you know if you're signing away not just your personal data and your address, but also your friends. And one more thing, Chuck, I think we're getting that $385 million for election infrastructure in this omnibus agreement, if there is one. And that would go a long way to help the states. That's the bill I led with Senator Langford.
Well, hey, I got more money for you, actually, in doing your math. Looks like we got $2 billion in fines. That would be a decent amount of money to put toward election security as well.
Yes.
Would it not?
I don't know how they're going to calculate, but that could be a lot. Yes, that could be a lot.
I mean, should this what it should be, Senator Kennedy, that essentially the only way to get social media firms to police themselves is saying, look, if any of this stuff gets away, you owe the government X amount of money. It's how we do Superfund cleanups. It's essentially been the Superfund site, which is essentially pay for it with industry paying for their mistakes.
Maybe, but I don't think we're there yet, Chuck. Let me say it again. The social media platforms have done a lot of good. But as they've gotten more powerful, we understand the potential for abuse. And what I'm asking are the policymakers from these companies, including but not limited to Facebook, to come talk to us. Let's talk frankly, straight up, in front of God and country about the issues. We all know they exist. I was mildly offended when Facebook and the other companies sent their lawyers to the first hearing.
Right.
I don't know what they were paid, but they did a damn good job because they didn't say anything. I mean, they dodged and bobbed and weaved and stalled and restalled. And we couldn't get much information out of them, and it was waste of Facebook's money and our time. And
Senator Kennedy's pretty good at asking questions, if you haven't noticed.
No, I know he is.
Chuck, and so he wants that opportunity.
You know, we just want to talk and face, frankly, these issues that have been put in front of the American people.
Both of you have been
privacy.
Both of you have been successful politicians. If
well,
you
Amy
were,
has anyway.
Well, you both have. If Facebook were a politician, how much trouble would you tell them they were in right now with the American people that, oh, you know, you're not going to win your, quote, next election if you keep behavior like this? I mean, it does seem as if they're not quite self-aware of their constituencies being upset. There's the delete Facebook stuff. What advice would you give them as politicians?
First of all, I think they see what's happening when they look at what happened to their stock in yesterday with some enormous decrease. So I think they know it. I don't think they need us to tell us. But what I think their problem has been, and I agree with Senator Kennedy, brilliant companies. They've given us these products we can't even imagine where we can communicate with friends and family. But what I think they look at things, it seems like, as a PR crisis day by day by day, as opposed to looking at the business model and realizing if they're going to make this work and to continue to be strong, they're going to have to want some rules of the road in place so that we have a way to monitor this and to work with them so that we don't have these bots bombarding our sites and that we don't have illegal ads put there. And I've been really frustrated that they haven't supported the Honest Ads Act that I have with Senator McCain and Warner, because that's all we're saying there is just follow the rules of the road that we have for print media and TV and radio. And if they won't do that, how are we going to confront all this other stuff?
Senator Kennedy, have you signed on to her bill? Because I am surprised Facebook hasn't at least glommed onto that. It would be an easy PR move for them.
I have not, but it's on my desk. I think it's
excellent.
It's yeah, I'm saying it's an excellent bill, and it's clearly an option for us.
Right.
But the issues that I think Amy and I are raising, in addition to Cambridge Analytica, are larger issues that can only be answered Facebook's involvement. If they don't want to be involved, this is America. You know, within reason, you can do what you want. But I think Congress is probably going to go forward. And
yeah, I think so. You guys have the subpoena power.
They need to be at the table.
You guys have the subpoena power when you want to use it. It's all up to your chairman if he wants to use it. Senators
Correct.
Kennedy and Klobuchar, it's always nice to have a bipartisan duo on to break down an issue. You guys are great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.